INTPs are more well-rounded than the INFP. Allow me to explain. Great question, highly controversial, but I believe this might put the stake in the vampire's heart. Or rather, the coffin. Or did you just stick pizza fingers in my face? So check this out. What you're referring to is emotional intelligence. Saying that my whatever is misleading in this, great perspective, this will clarify. Emotional intelligence, as commented by an outsider. Meaning if I say, hey, you appear to have quite a bit of emotional intelligence. I am referring to your FE empathy to understand other people and to be able to act out accordingly. So I'm not commenting on your FI. That would be referring to your FE. And as you can see, the distance between TI to FE for an INTP is 4. Whereas the distance between FI all the way down to the TI demon of the INFP is 8. Massive and in fact double spread. INTPs get the FE spread, allowing them to be more well-rounded as far as the inferior aspirational function. They want to be that friendly. They come across that well-rounded, that grounded. It refers to their logical dominance, TI. And the INFPs are extremely FI dominated, which is their focus. That is how they feel, radiating that between their, we already talked about their TE weakness, but their aspirational inferior function would be TE, not TI, which is the demon down freaking here. So yes, the spread is wider. It does not make them better. It just means that that distance is different. And many people have different experiences with different types. So however, this is not a call out to INFPs not being logical, because we all know where their logical placement is. And therefore, to think about how their emotions affect others is also not a strong argument. However, I like where you're coming from, but it is also not a strong argument because now you're referring to FE for the INFP, and guess where theirs is? In the 5th slot. So that's the ally or the nemesis function, which means if they give it respect and acknowledge it, which apparently you do, you as an INFP do, that creates the ally nemesis function, that creates an ally function. But if you don't, then that becomes the nemesis. So right there, right off the bat, the very definition itself for the 5th slot acknowledges your question. The demon placement should acknowledge the question. And the well-roundedness creates all pleasure stacks with INTP being 1 to 4, all pleasureful for the INTP. TI to FE inferior aspirational. Right there. The 1-4 is the most lucid and positive, blissful state for anybody to be in, because you are acknowledging your dominant function with what you truly aspire to be, 1 to 4. So if you get in that loop, you're like basically superhuman, and then you have an ally function that's healthy, like a 5th one, my gosh. So as a superhuman, whatever, we would all look different in our superhuman form, like our Super Saiyan freaking form, or Chaos Control Emerald form. Looks different, and I'd be curious to make a video series about that. Each personality type having that 5th function with a 1 and 4 spiked. Oh, radiating that with a 5th. Oh man, that'd be kind of cool. I know. Anyway, last thing I'll say. INFPs do not, and in my experience have not, always acknowledged the FE appropriately. So for example, nobody uses their 5th function the same, but an INFP who asks something of somebody and then ghosts them and doesn't even acknowledge their feelings and moves on because they felt the need to consider another option, and INFPs do this a lot in my personal experience, and I'd love to hear your other sides. But if that is how you feel, you might be mistyped or mistyping somebody else, because INFPs are supposed to do that, and that's totally okay. INFPs need to feel a certain way and consider all the options. That's the basic surface level way of looking at it. And if they don't consider other people's feelings, then they come across as selfish and, as you mentioned, in their head, daydreaming. And don't forget, they're both intuitive, different type of daydreaming. They're both NE parent. So they are both considering that intuitive option parental function as it goes. And I believe you get my point. Much love to both of these types. And again, great question. Hope that helped.